afternoon.
Hello.
It's about 2 o'clock. I just got back from a course in Sweden.
Online.
Online? Yes. Yeah. Much less exotic.
Which is why we're leaving so late today.
Yeah.
We're on the middle level navigation in Upwell.
Yeah, technically on Well Creek or the Well Stream, which is why we're in Upwell, which is just below Outwell. Everything's got to have a well in the name.
We're just outside Joanne's pastry.
Yeah.
Pantry.
Pantry. Joanne's Pantry, not Joanne's Pastry.
Where I went to get a lunch from there.
Yeah.
Brought it back for Michael after we finished school.
Yeah. Joe texted me to say, do you want the good news or the bad news? And I'm like, what the heck do you mean the good news or the bad news? Well, the chip shop, which is
a mile
that way up and out,
that I walked to,
they use beef dripping, so we can't have the fries from there. You know, and I'm like, oh, that is bad news. And then she doesn't answer. I'm like, well, I hope that's the bad news. If that's the good news, then the bad news is going to be terrible. What's the, you know? And you said, do you want the good news? And I'm like, yeah, I do want the good news.
And
then there's no answer. And I'm sitting there for like 10 minutes going, what the heck is the good news?
It wasn't 10 minutes, because it took me 2 minutes to walk back, but my hands were full and I couldn't text.
Yeah. So all of a sudden she drops down on the front of the boat.
With food.
2 big sandwiches wrapped in paper, which were actually quite nice. I mean, you know, it's one of the funny things about British cuisine. To the people who are not British, the people who are British might understand this. The people who are not British may not. I think
you're generalizing an awful lot.
Okay. Worldwide, Britain has a history for bad cuisine.
It hasn't got a history.
It has
a reputation.
It has a reputation. There's a stereotype of bad cuisine. And it's not true when you actually move over here and you find out that not all of the fish actually has newsprint printed on it, and not all of the, pastries are just dry blocks of something like styrofoam. There's actually amazing baking here. There's really good food. The curries don't represent anything from India, but they've got their own unique flavor. There's definitely good British cuisine out there. But British street food doesn't go out of its way to look appetizing. And I think that anybody can agree with this. Because the sandwich was actually really nice. It just didn't look that good.
Anyway.
It was like, oh, it's a big hoagie bun with an iceberg lettuce on top.
Look, you ate it all.
Yeah, it was tasty. It was good. It was a cheese sandwich, and they did it right up. Once I sort of peeled off the 13 layers of iceberg lettuce, it was good. You gotta admit, it doesn't look great. Anyway, today we are going around to a place called Three Holes, I think. Yeah, bit of a strange name. Basically we're going down, and then we're choosing to turn left instead of continuing down to March, which is what most people do. And we'll get to March eventually. We're going to turn left on, I believe it's called Popham Zoo, and at the end of it, where it joins the 16-foot drain and the main drain, there are some moorings there. So we're going to join up, turn north, go back up to the aqueduct we passed over yesterday, turn back around.
Hopefully turn back around.
We should be able to do it without any problem. And then we'll turn back around and head back to that mooring, which is hopefully it is a maintained hard-standing mooring. It's not one of the rural moorings where there's just a bunch of posts that you tie onto.
We'll find out.
We will find out.
Anyway, the day boat just went past, so there is a lock. That's exciting.
Yeah.
The lock will be set against us, but that's okay.
Marmont Priory Lock, which is, oddly enough, beside Marmont Priory.
So I think me and George are going to walk to there, and then we'll get on the boat after the lock.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
We do that now.
Okay.
We go that way.
Yeah.
Slowly.
We mentioned in the last video how low some of the bridges on the middle level navigations are, and here Michael's demonstrating just how low this one is. Here we're passing the village shop and post office. The village of Upwell extends along the navigation with roads on both sides of the water for another half a mile or so. here's another one of those very low bridges.
So George and I are currently walking along the pavement, and there's the boat down there. So yeah, there isn't like a traditional towpath, but there is a boat on both sides of the navigation, which is a bit unusual really. But I hope I've picked the right side to walk on today. So I think I was actually on the wrong side, but I found this little footbridge between the houses, and Michael's just coming onto the bridge now, so I can cross over and walk on that path on that side.
As we leave the village, the route takes a fairly sharp turn to the right as we head towards Marmont Priory. Once we've passed the last of the houses, we return to views of the pretty but very flat Cambridgeshire countryside. The lock landing is a fairly short pontoon. I leave Michael to try and moor up in the wind while I go and set the lock.
So it's taken me a minute to get this lock filling. It wasn't entirely clear how to do it, but there's one paddle that I worked out, and I think the other ones might be out of action, or I don't know what. But this is the one I got to use.
And this is the one I couldn't work out how to use. Eventually, Michael gets to bring the boat in. We weren't expecting to see a little boat hanging out on the side of the lock up there. It's a pretty windy day, but apparently that's just standard weather for the middle level. It takes me a little while to get the lock gates to stay closed, but once I do, George and I can get back onto the boat. George has had enough of boating today and is definitely ready to find a field to chase his ball in. Soon, George, soon. Here we're on the Old River Nene, which continues south towards New Dyke and Ramsey. At the next junction we'll be turning onto New Popham Zoe towards Three Hulls and the 16-foot river. It's really lovely and peaceful, but the views from the water are rather limited. You definitely get the feeling you're navigating in a drainage ditch. Ahead is the junction. The Old River Nene continues to the right and we'll be turning left. Popham's Oe is a drain that's named after Sir John Popham, who built it in the 17th century to connect the River Nene and Well Creek and to improve drainage in the area. And being a man-made waterway, it's much straighter than the course of the river. It may be officially summer, but it's fairly cold out on these waters. Popham's Oe is just 2 miles long, and as we approach Three Holes we start to see some houses on the north bank. Ahead is the junction with the 16-foot drain. We're turning north, and you can travel for 2 miles on this drain to Mullicourt Aqueduct, where Well Creek passes over the drain. This is the mooring that we were hoping to spend the night on. Unfortunately, there only appears to be room enough for 1 boat. These are turning out to be 2 more very straight miles. George's ears are helpfully demonstrating just how windy it is on the middle level. There's the aqueduct ahead. It's far too low for any boats to navigate past, or for ducks to swim under for that matter, so this is definitely the end of the line.
Well, that'll be the end of the main drain for us. We're not fitting under that bridge.
Aqueduct.
Aqueduct, yeah. We're not fitting under that aqueduct, that's for sure.
It's a shame there's nowhere to stop here, as the lack of mooring means we've got no choice but to travel the 2 miles back to the junction tonight. I just hope that that mooring's free, or that the boat doesn't mind us mooring alongside. It's a fairly uneventful trip back, although we do spot this fire pumping black smoke into the sky in one of the fields to the west of the navigation. We're in luck. The boat that was on the mooring has left, so we do indeed have somewhere to stop for the night.
Alright, we're done for the day.
Yay!
We've made it to Three Holes. That back there is the bridge just above Popham's Oe, or the Popham Oe, which actually does continue that way, all the way up to where it rejoins the canal at a tiny little sluice we passed yesterday. So unfortunately it's unnavigable that way, but we've now done the length of Popham's Oe, and we've turned up and we've gone as far north as you can on here.
Yeah, to where we were yesterday.
Yeah.
And there's a public mooring here, and when we came past, because we just did this little there and back to get to the end, when we came past, there was an ABC hire boat for March here, and there's only room for 1 boat. So I was like, oh no, where are we going to go? We'll have to ask if we can moor up next to them. But as we were carrying on, they decided to move on. So, and Michael said when we saw them, oh, if they're a hire boat, they might move on.
Yeah, well, I mean, because Joe did point out that it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so it doesn't seem like a time that people stop for lunch. But often what you see with hire boats is they'll kind of stop several times during a day.
Yeah, and have a little explore and then...
Yeah, and then, they might have a little home base they're heading towards or a particular place they're trying to get to. So when I saw them sitting out on the front of the boat, I just thought, oh, maybe they just stopped for their tea and they're going to move on again.
Yeah, they could have just stopped for a cup of tea.
But
anyway, we got lucky. And I mean, we would have asked them more next to them because there's not another mooring for miles. But like if you're a hire boat, you don't really want a boat
right beside you. Yeah. So it's an interesting... not exactly the most visually intriguing of sections, but we came down through Marmot Priory Lock, which was actually quite a bit of a pain.
Well, only because it was really windy, so I was trying to go fast so that you weren't hanging out. Right,
which I was doing anyway because it's a very short lock landing.
Yeah.
And I was getting blown all over the place.
That's why I was trying to be really quick.
Yeah.
But then it's not clear which paddles are working.
No.
And then they're hydraulic and they're well maintained, but they're really like heavy hydraulic. So they were a lot of work.
Yeah. And it's the first time we're using the new windlass that we got, the box key
it works exactly the same way.
But. Yeah, but it's still kind of, everything's just a little bit different. And there was a sign saying which of the upstream ones to use.
Use this paddle, but I tried every other paddle before I got to that because the other paddles don't have a sign on them saying don't use this paddle.
Yeah, and the sign that's there is like a relatively small A4 piece of paper, and it's on the kind of offside and not where you can see it too easily.
Anyway, we worked it out in the end.
Yeah. But and then we got through the far side, and the gates wouldn't quite shut for you as I was sitting out, again being struck by the wind. The wind's definitely picked up. It's clear that summer has kind of, at least for the moment, finished because I actually had to put on my jacket. I would have been fine with just a jumper or something.
But no, it's the Ouse because it was winter until we crossed the wash and joined the Ouse, and then summer started.
And the moment we get off the Ouse, it's gone to winter again.
Yeah, it's the Ouse. Yeah, it's summer on the Ouse still. I'm convinced of it.
Oh yeah, it's probably perfectly sunny just over there in Cambridge. Although I think we're in Cambridgeshire. We passed a sign that said this is the border for Norfolk, and I'm not sure whether or not that was you have to cross that bridge to get to the border, or whether or not Popham's is the border. But one way or another, we've crossed into another county.
I don't know where we are actually.
I have no idea where we're going. Although I do say from there that it's Upwell Parish Council. So wherever Upwell is, that's where we is from now. I'm pretty sure we're in Norwich.
So yes, this is another 36-hour mooring. So in theory, we could stay 2 nights, but then we'd have to leave at 5 a.m. the next day. It's really weird.
Did I just say Norwich?
Yeah.
That's wrong.
Norfolk.
Yeah, damn. Because the Norfolk Broads are in Norfolk. I didn't expect to be in Norfolk because the Norfolk Broads are way the heck over there.
Norfolk's quite big.
Yeah, it is. I know. But, okay. Well, I just didn't think it was all sort of squirrely shaped and ended up over here somehow.
I don't think it is squarely shaped.
Okay.
Anyway, tomorrow we're going to head down that way and carry on down the 16-foot.
Yeah, it's a little unclear whether or not this portion we're on here is officially the main drain, or if this is the 16-foot drain, or if the 16-foot drain ends at the junction there. But tomorrow we'll be turning down the 16-foot drain, heading towards the junction that is where the Horseway Lock is. I don't know if we'll make it all the way down there.
So it's about 10 miles.
Yeah, it's quite a long ways, and it is dead straight. So not expecting tomorrow to be the most incredibly exciting of days. But it's like a 10-mile straight line. There is a pub halfway along where
I don't know if it's open.
I don't know if the pub's open, but that's where the IWA on its tours normally does. They call it like a rite of passage sort of thing. Like the IWA, when it comes through here, will one boat will moor up, and then other boats will tie to it, and then people will jump on the bank and try and use mooring pins to make kind of a little ropeway so people can walk up.
Okay.
So that they've got like a safety handle to walk past. Anyway, that's what it says in the guidebook. And there's a picture of like 4 boats all sitting side by side. So apparently this pub is pretty good. But we'll have to check if it's actually open. So
we might moor there if we can.
Yeah.
Anyway,
or we'll continue all the way down to the new rural moorings which were installed a few years ago.
Yeah, I'm really cold. So.
Yes, it is cold. It is. It's definitely cold. That fire's not getting any closer, so we're going to go inside and create a fire inside the boat, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, I think so. It's cold. It's cold.
you better put the chimney on then.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, and try and clear out a whole bunch of spiders. So, thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up, comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already, subscribe to Minimalist Maximum Velocity if you want to get our time-lapse videos, and of course click that bell if you want to get notifications.